Hello and welcome to the Geeks Review. I'm Joshua.
And I'm Royce. We're back. We had a little bit of a break, and the past 3 weeks saw the airing of an abridged version of a radio drama series I wrote, directed, edited, the cowboy and western serial Lion Goats. Josh here starred in it. He played Leon Cabras, the villain.
Indeed I did.
Do you want to do the voice?
I'll definitely try and sink back into it. There it is.
There's the voice.
There it is. Hello, amigo. Yes.
I was in it too. I played a few different characters.
Some better than others. I wasn't really keen on this one. Kind of going for a Clancy Brown. I don't know what this ended up as.
But, you know, it turned out okay. And I mean, it's made up of a really good, talented local cast as well as some international performers as well. Really annoying voice, this one, hey? It's meant to be the annoying character who gets his head blown off, but whatever.
Don't strain your vocal cords.
No. The whole series can be found on the City Park Radio website under the podcasts page, as well as my YouTube channel, that's Royce Pentaghast, RoycePentaghast, where you'll find all 10 episodes, the 3 abridged episodes, as well as every episode of the Geeks Review. But now, on with the show. And sticking with the Western theme, as we are reviewing 2 older films related to a recent HBO series which recently wrapped up its 3rd season. That's WESTWORLD, directed and written by Michael Crichton, released in 1973, and its sequel, FUTUREWORLD, released in 1976. Like I said, it's written by Michael Crichton, who is best known for the novel Jurassic Park, and much like that, which was a futuristic theme park populated by dinosaurs that go run amok. This is a future theme park for the ultra-rich, populated by realistic androids, based upon certain periods in Earth's history, such as the American Old West, the Roman Empire, as well as medieval Europe.
Spared no expense.
Spared no expense, they did not. Apart from the whole, not killing the visitors thing.
Oh, don't kill the visitors. No, you can't kill the visitors. At least they tried.
That's really the deal with Westworld, is that the park goes wrong, but it doesn't really go wrong until quite a way through.
No, it's been operating for at least a couple of years or so.
The Delos Corporation has been, keeping this thing chugging along, and we follow 2 guests played by James Brolin and Richard Benjamin, who show up, to have a wild holiday of, rootin', tootin', lassoing, shooting, all that sort of stuff you can do in the West. It really plays to every cliche of the classic.
It plays to the fantasy of what we interpreted the Wild West to be, and even what the Roman Empire and Roman Republic were, and the medieval ages, of course. With
Oh, for sure, yeah. That's very classic, traditional old-style Hollywood fantasy.
And I think that would be very much changed up if they were to make another another movie of this. I know they've made the series. I haven't watched it yet.
Yes, I have seen the series, and I did see the original Westworld film before I saw the series.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on this film?
To start off with, this film nearly killed me. I was listening, I was eating dinner while I was watching this, and I was taking a quick drink, and I listened to how much guests have to pay a day to stay there, and I nearly choked on my own drink. $1,000 a day?
Okay, yeah, so that's $1,000 for one day.
$1,000 in the 70s.
So this film was made in the 1970s.
It was meant to be 1972 that the film was representing.
No, it was actually set in 1983.
Oh, okay.
So it was set in the future, near future, where there are supposedly androids, but everyone still dresses like it's 1973.
Yeah.
$1,000, $1,1973 in today's money is $5,774.53.
That's more than what Disney charges you to stay at any of their parks.
But in 1983 money, it seems there was a bit of a crash. It's $2,574. But that's American.
That's American, so you got to give a little bit of leeway for inflation. But still,
yes. Well,
that's an exorbitant amount of money to stay at a park.
Well, in Australian dollars, the 5,700 is 8,867 Australian dollars to stay for 24 hours. And people would be going for 2-week holidays here.
That's more than what I make in 3 months.
Oh, yeah, I could afford, 6 hours?
Yeah, I think we could afford maybe a school day, if anything. Maybe see if we can't get a student discount.
Yeah. Well, I'm ready to blow your mind because the TV show, which is set in the future.
Yeah.
I mean, the 2050s, so, 35 plus years in our future.
Yeah.
$100,000 a day.
I'm good. I think I'll just vicariously live through the reviews if they ever did come out.
I think if you definitely had the money to do it, but it's definitely saying something. It's definitely part of the messaging of the TV show, that the type of people who are able to afford such an event, such a getaway, probably not the greatest people in the world if they have that sort of money to throw around.
And that's one of the things that I definitely noticed going through a lot of the guests. They had a lot of dark thoughts when going into this.
Yes.
And this is a perfect place for you to let your id run wild.
Oh, for sure. That's definitely something that the series really explores more than this, because the opening sort of is quite weird. It starts as like a sort of news broadcast, almost slash advertisement.
Yeah.
And it's this reporter interviewing guests who've just come back from the park. And that wasn't actually written by Michael Crichton. I read it was written by an ad executive.
Yeah.
It screams of ad executive.
Well, I mean, it works.
Yeah. And how people just seem totally fine to go in and just do whatever they want.
The droids, I mean, they have pleasure units.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the androids, what did you think of them in this one?
I'm really glad that, again, humans were used, but the slight changes and effects they used to show that they are androids was, even to this day, I think that's a good way to show it, you know, having the light shine a certain way in their eyes to show like that they are a robot, or the fact that you can only tell that they're an android by their hands because they can't perfect the hands yet.
That is such a quaint idea, I find, that of all the things that they could figure out with reconstructing a person, they couldn't figure out the hands.
No, because the fingerprint is so unique to every individual person.
Oh, that's true, but they've kind of got the joints, which are like, you know, pointing outwards. Like, they don't go inwards. They sort of, they're raised joints. And I find that quite funny. It's like they could figure out complex mouth movement, which is something that
eyes,
animatronics struggle with today, even in 2020.
Give it time, Disney will do stuff like this.
Oh, for sure, yeah. I mean, this was inspired by the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, the original one.
Yeah.
At Disney World. And, I mean, you can kind of see some of the stuff that Disney's coming out with now. Like, I mean, Galaxy's Edge, it's insane. And the stunt droids that they're working on now, too. Oh, yeah. Like I said, it's quite funny where they just pull off a panel and there's just like
circuitry.
Flashing, it's just circuitry and flashing diodes. It's not like there's no exact robotic skeleton.
No, it's
there.
of the time. It's definitely of the time, but that's what makes it work so beautifully. I mean, you're seeing all these operating rooms with like reel-to-reel computer banks.
You
know, blinking lights, making awkward sounds, and just touching a button in front of a screen just to do simple lines of code or watching what the droids are doing. It's plays to its advantage. I mean, some of it doesn't quite hold up much, like mainly the intro with the reflection of what's meant to be the lead up to the biomes in the aviators of the pilot of the hovercraft.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably the one thing that doesn't go well.
Yeah, effects-wise, it's when the guests are travelling and they're in like a sort of hovercraft, and I do remember thinking it's like they're apparently just travelling straight forward, but the camera, like they've got a rear projection screen and it's pointing down at the ground. So it's sort of like they're constantly diving towards the ground, or they're just facing the ground as they're, driving along. It's a bit of an iffy effect there. It was, of course, issues with the production of this. I did read, there was rewrites. The cast wasn't really locked in until like 24 hours before they started to shoot.
Jesus.
Which is crazy. James Brolin, though, it's been said before, he looks like Christian Bale.
He does.
He does.
I almost said that is Christian Bale. No, it's too early for Christian Bale. How's that Christian Bale?
And I do remember when I first saw it, seeing Richard Benjamin going, is that Oscar Isaac with a moustache?
I thought it was Biggs Darklighter.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, who's the guy who plays him, do you know?
I don't remember.
Yeah.
But it looks like the guy who played Biggs Darklighter in the first Star Wars film.
Yeah. Richard Benjamin's still around today, of course. He said it was like a lot of fun, he said it was probably the only time I'll get to be in a Western and, live out that childhood fantasy, which goes back to what you said about this is kind of what that is. Yeah,
it plays to the childhood fantasies. It plays to just the fantasy aspect that we want to live for. Everyone wants to be, king for a day, or a gun-toting desperado, or even a sheriff.
Oh, yeah.
Or live through the decadence of the Roman times.
Oh, yes, for sure. You go and talk about the technology as well. This was apparently the first piece of widespread media that made mention of a computer virus.
Yeah.
Because that's how the illness of the droids who start to kill the...
Illness.
Yes. Yeah, it's kind of... I didn't quite catch how it comes about. It just seems it was like a glitch.
It's Yeah, they pretty much stated, it's just a small glitch. Don't worry about it. Droids don't get this stuff,
Yeah.
Because they were likening it to a common cold.
Yes. Look where we are now.
But
the main villain, which we haven't actually mentioned, the main villain is the gunslinger. He's an android played by Yul Brynner, and he's dressed like his character Chris from The Magnificent Seven. That's one of his biggest films, along with The King and I. I
believe that was a TV series.
The King and I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a film and a TV series. There was a couple of two different versions around that time. There was the TV series and a film, and then another film later on, which was Anna and the King, and then they remade The King and I.
Perhaps we should review The King and I in a future episode. Why not?
Possibly, if we can find the copy.
I think Channel 7 plays it like midday sometimes. The droids go haywire, start killing park guests as well as technicians. It does say in the sequel that apparently 50 guests were killed and 90 technicians were killed.
Yep, there was...
It's a lot of people, but...
It was a drop in the bucket to how many people there might have been in the park at the time, but I think this is one of the best parts of the film, which is the slow build of the tension.
Yeah.
Because you start to notice that, it's just a Yul Brynner droid that might be faulty because he always somehow goes after the two guests that killed him.
Or tried to kill him, yeah.
Or tried to kill him.
Until he does so for real. But then, of course, the Black Knight goes and...
starts doing that. So you start... But with that one, before the Black Knight tries to kill the two guests that were in medieval world, one of the handmaiden droids, which was a pleasure bot, refused one of the guests' advances when they're not programmed to refuse.
Oh, yes, that's right, yeah. And, of course, you had the Rattlesnake issue.
Yep.
So it's a steady growing thing, and it's passed throughout all the droids as they all just turn. The gunslinger was actually the inspiration for not only Michael Myers in Halloween, the sort of indestructible, unstoppable killer, but also the Terminator.
Yes, I can definitely see that.
Apparently Schwarzenegger did study this film as well as like the movements Yul Brynner made. And so, yeah, the effects and the influence of this film are wide-reaching.
For years to come.
You did mention that you could see how this became a TV series. But you haven't seen the TV series.
I haven't seen. I can easily see how it would be turned into something new. Update in visual media, just a bigger budget or what have you. But it left a lasting impression on me. Just watching it, I wanted to know more about the park.
They do tell you quite a lot about how the droids work and about how it all works. They do show you the inner workings.
They do, and they treat it more like a hospital than, a workshop.
Yeah, they do have the actual workshop, which is where they do patch up these robots. And I think if you were to go into the TV series, do you have any interest maybe in checking it out?
Oh, I'm definitely going to be checking it out now once I get through my list.
Your mind is going to be blown in the first 15 minutes of the TV series.
Yes!
And then the end of the episode's also going to blow your mind again. And then each episode is just going to... Because I saw this right before I saw the series.
Yeah.
And I went in with certain expectations. And they were subverted, which I know can be a bit of a bad thing now, but it's a subversion in the best way. And
it's got Anthony Hopkins. That's the best selling point
so
far.
The TV series has Anthony Hopkins, Ed Harris, Evan Rachel Wood, Thandie Newton, James Marsden, Jeffrey Wright. It's a huge cast.
Yeah.
A great cast as well. And it really takes the concepts by this film, as well as the sequel. It is surprising how much of these original movies are actually in the TV series.
Continuations, almost.
Almost, yeah. I'd say the TV series is set in its own continuity.
But watching, WESTWORLD and FUTUREWORLD back to back,
yes,
it's beautiful. And it's probably the only way I would recommend to watch these films.
Yes.
They're not long. They're 90 minutes.
Yeah, well, WESTWORLD, the movie, is available to watch on Foxtel. You can stream it, download it, record it.
You can rent it off YouTube, Google Music and all that. Yeah.
FUTUREWORLD is available to stream on Stan. Which is cheaper than Foxtel.
And much cheaper than Foxtel.
And yeah, along with many other things. We're not promoting Stan, but it's on there. FUTUREWORLD, yeah, it's set a few years afterwards, and it came out a few years afterwards, starring Peter Fonda and Blythe Danner as two reporters who are invited back to the Delos parks to see the overhaul that the parks have undergone following the events of the massacre that happened a few years before.
So a lot of bad press already happening, but still the guests are coming in.
So yeah, this is a bit of a different film.
It is it's a lot more, while I would say WESTWORLD was a thriller that turned into a survival thriller, This one is more of a suspenseful. The build is a lot more slower paced than say Westworld, where it's only got a 98-minute runtime, and it's pretty much boom, droids, they're killing people. Here, there's something darker, and I believe that is beautiful in what it does.
It's almost an espionage. Like you said, it's sort of like they spend more time in behind the scenes rather than actually in the park itself. Because before, we were just following two guests who were just witnesses. They have absolutely no idea what's going on. They just figure like something's gone wrong and the droids are starting to kill them. This one, you've got the reporters who are in the know, who have access to the behind the scenes.
And what the Delos Corporation is looking for is a puff piece.
Yeah, to basically just big up their thing. And they've actually increased the price. It's now $1,200 a day. To stay, although they took out Westworld. I'd want to go to Westworld. I mean,
they knew where the problem was with Westworld, and they figured, right, let's work out until we get the Kinks done before we can reopen Westworld. And they've got reopened Roman World, Medieval World, and they added two new ones, Spa World and Future World.
Yeah, Spa World is an interesting one because it sort of sounds more like it's more of a health clinic.
Yeah.
Than anything else, which is like $1,000 a day. Geez, that's
yeah, they better be damn good massages.
Very good massages.
They better be, actually taking off years.
Oh yeah, well, they do say when all your pain and troubles go away. So maybe that's how they get people. It's like an addiction.
Yeah,
it's like painkillers. It's like I want to spend time in the park.
And they did make it very prominent not to bring cameras in. I wanted to see where it would go with don't bring cameras in. It doesn't really go anywhere.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, where do you think it would go?
I honestly would want to see what would happen, because two Japanese guests come in, and one of them's told, right, you can't bring in your father's sword, we're really sorry.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, okay, his, I would say his plus one, is told, right, don't bring in the camera, and he sneaks it in anyway. He takes a photo, but I really wanted them to explore, why is there no photography allowed within the parks?
Yeah, I think as you learn more about what is going on, it sort of becomes more aware. They just don't want, corporate secrets getting out or, evidence of their wrongdoing.
See, I thought it had something to affect with the droids because...
It's funny you say that because the TV series does deal with that. There is a heavier emphasis upon the androids or hosts, as they're called. So I might refer to them as hosts as we go on, because that's what I know. They're actually programmed with like a consciousness and an artificial intelligence, and they are programmed to ignore things which are incongruous to their worldview. So seeing like a photograph of, say, Times Square in like the present day, they look at it and go, well, it doesn't look like anything to me. And they just disregard it. If they saw like a camera, they wouldn't think anything of it. Yeah, it's sort of a missed opportunity. And it's funny as well watching this. I think you can see where the writers of the TV show looked at this and gone, wouldn't it be cool if like the gunslinger had feelings and he actually had a vendetta against these guests, and that's why he went and killed James Brolin's character, because he remembered.
Yeah, he remembered being shot.
And was like, I'm going to get you for what you did to me. And that's what they do, and they really explore the feelings. You do kind of... There is a character in this, Clark, in Future World, who's a faceless host, a faceless android.
Yes.
Sort of...
Model 400.
Yeah, it's interesting they go and use model terms like that.
With the 700s being running the show and being the hosts, and the 500s being sort of the obsolete, outdated ones that they're still kind of in service because they were the ones that were the latest and greatest before the park shut down with the incident.
Yeah, it's with this faceless Clark model. It got the biggest laugh out of me when his engineer friend, they're playing cards, and he tells him, don't look at my cards when you're away, and then you see the robot actually pick up the cards and take a peek. I laughed at that because there is sort of a charm to that, I found, and it's a precursor to what would later happen. You do, of course, have other films which explore the concept of realistic androids, Blade Runner being the big one, where they are essentially human, but they're just synthesized in a laboratory.
Yeah, it's one thing. That concept to be a bit more sinister.
Because they do have all the Delos staff being androids.
Yeah, because that's what they figured out the problem was. Human error. So replace the technicians with the 700 models.
Yeah, so that they have complete command and they can never make issues, never make mistakes or anything. Yeah. It's then revealed that Delos's plan is to replace all the world leaders with android replicants.
And that is something that is slightly hinted at when they're on their way to the Dallas Park to go into the transit area to their different places.
Yeah.
Peter Fonda said, just looking at the guest list here, and it almost looks like, the last UN summit.
So they went and did that to prevent greater powers from interfering.
Exactly.
With Dallas's end goals, as well as, to try and shape the world in their own image or into a desirable outcome.
What they stated was, you're ruining the planet, and that's not good for us, because we're going to have to deal with it, and we'll be here longer than you flashbacks will be here for.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true, actually. It is the robot perspective that they kind of have there, because they do reveal that the leader...
It's 700 model.
Yeah, he's an android as well, which I did not see coming until he got shot, and then there were sparks everywhere. I'm like, oh, yes.
It's a rivet. However, I do have one gripe with the future world. They had the opportunity for a twist. Yes, they used the twist with the leader, but they also created duplicates of the main characters.
Yes.
Now, this is where I take the issue, because they had both the replicants chase down their originals, and they show us each one defeating their replica.
Yes.
When they... and this is just me personally, if you want to build tension for a great reveal later down the track, cut away from when they just defeat it, so you don't know who lived.
With live Danners, they definitely do that. They show that the android is killed. And with Peter Fonda, I did look away, and I was sort of like, is this the android? Is this him?
Exactly.
And yeah, it would have been... I was left with that doubt. I was sort of thinking, though, but are they? What if they already are androids?
I mean, the doubt is still there, but it would have built the doubt up bigger if they had have cut away.
I just had the doubt
if they had have let the Fonda bot live.
Yeah, the Fonda bot.
And have, the classic, even the creators can't tell the original from the duplicate. Yeah. Have the female lead, have to, do the classic, I'm the real one. No, it's me. Yeah. And then, have the original call her by her nickname, which was Socks. And he's been saying it throughout the entire film. And she said, I hate being called Socks. Yeah. I thought it was building to something where they were going to have that moment where it's knowledge.
They do establish, they sort of shoot themselves or paint themselves into a corner by establishing that their androids know what they're thinking the second they're thinking it. Not because they can read their mind, but because their minds are working at the same thing, and they are kind of, so they're obviously replicated to that extreme degree that they can think.
That even the original can also try and predict it as well. Yeah. Chess game with yourself.
Yeah, so I guess Fondabot would have known to call her that. If that was the case.
Possibly.
Probably, yeah. That would have, I guess, exposed the flaw. I did read that the original title for this was going to be Didn't Anyone Learn the Lesson the First Time? Or something to that effect. But
I mean, it's still an interesting working title, but that's my only gripe with Future World. They had an opportunity to have a wonderful twist reveal and build the tension more.
I do think watching both back-to-back would be best. I do think Westworld is the stronger of the two films.
It is the superior product.
I think it's widely considered as well. Like, Future World has like a 4.9 on IMDb, and Westworld has a 7.
I would still go back and watch Future World any day of the week.
Yeah, I'd give it a 6. Yeah, if I was to, maybe a 7.
I never actually wrote down a score for it.
Oh, we don't do scores. It's too difficult to figure out.
I mean, I definitely wrote down a score for Westworld, but that's just me.
Yeah, I do. I can really see, as a fan of the series, where the inspiration for the series came from. It is so strong in this, and kind of ridiculous how I don't think anyone predicted where the series was going to go based upon this. It's not exactly the same, so I'm not spoiling anything by saying that, but
I know that they were... that they did take something from Future World into the series where there's apparently an East World.
Oh, yes. It's called Shogun World. Or Shogun.
Shogun World.
Everyone thought it was going to be like Samurai World or something, but it is a Japanese-inspired...
Shogun has more of a zing to it.
Yeah. It doesn't show up until Series 2, and it is teased at the very end of Series 1. So spoilers there, mildly.
Mildly.
But I just think to the series, and the series is like, that's worth $100,000 a day. But, I mean, who has that money? And whoever has that money is not a very good person, I'd say.
Or they're a really smart person.
So, final thoughts?
Final thoughts? Westworld, clearly the superior product. Amazing. Holds up, despite some minor terrible effects. But that's really
I think
early
they did
on.
pretty good. Like the actual prosthetic they had of Yul Brynner, like the face was like, wow, that looks really good for that time, because there's kind of a period in time where prosthetics did look very waxy and very plasticky. You kind of see it in your slasher films.
But with Westworld, you can get away with it because they are androids.
Yeah, you could say they just sort of become a bit rubbery when they get powered down. Makes sense. But for the time, that looked really good, I
think my favorite effect from it was when the Brannabot got splashed with sulfuric acid.
Yeah, how they did that was they had like Alka-Seltzer, on his face, and they put water and it started to then fizz. So you got all the foaming, and then they had, smoke machines and all that.
Oh.
Really cool effect, that one.
Simple, but...
It's the sort of effect you'd want to go, like, try out in your own...
Well, you can try it out in your own home.
Yeah, easily.
Almost.
Almost, just get a packet of Panadol and...
Yep. But Future World, still good. Still
Yeah.
a great romp. I just really think they could have done a bit better with the idea of the copies chasing down the originals.
For sure. There was an original TV series which came out in 1980 called Beyond Westworld.
Oh.
I don't think it's widely available, and it was cancelled after only like a few episodes. But if I described it, it's basically Blade Runner. It's about a guy from Delos tracking down some androids which escaped into the real world.
God damn it.
It does take the inspiration, or it does take more of the human perspective than the android perspective, and I think the android perspective is as interesting, and perhaps more so than the humans themselves.
I like the robots.
Yeah. I did feel quite sad when that technician robot was like attacked in Future World and has his face taken off to get through the door. I was like, oh, poor guy. Just minding
Well, I
his
mean, they
own
don't
business.
have feelings, but at the same time, you don't want a bucket of water chucked on you.
No. Well, I mean, when they give him consciousness, he's going to go, screw you, I remembered that.
Yeah, it's like, hang on.
There's a
Face is gone.
There's a theory I've now got based upon the logic of the TV show about... I won't say it. It works, and it's great. But anyway, that was our review of Westworld and Future World. We both recommend it.
One word with Future World, because there are films out there called Future World that have a space in between.
Yes.
Yeah, that was the mistake I made trying to find it on YouTube. To rent.
So yeah, Westworld is on Foxtel. Stan has Future World. Check them out, and also if you like the sound of it, go and check out the series that's on Foxtel as well.
And,
Showcase.
And the Prime.
Yes, that's right as well.
Yeah.
But anyway, this has been the Geeks Review. Hope you've enjoyed listening to us ramble about these very old films.
Very old films, but still hold up.
They still do surprisingly hold up, for sure.
Absolutely.
But anyway, we'll be back next week, and we'll see you next time. Bye for now.